Hello and welcome back to the Rams Writer podcast. Chris Holt, Sam Along here as always for you. Now, obviously, when me and Chris normally do these podcasts, they are normally not scripted as such, but we sort of have a bit of an idea what we're going to talk about. But the book has been thrown out the window today because after Saturday's second half collapse against Peterborough, are our playoff hopes now in doubt? You know, we've been talking about promotion, we've been talking about playoffs all season. All of a sudden, the last couple of games, two nil losses on the bounce, a total 90-minute capitulation against Fleetwood a week ago, and then a 45-minute capitulation, on Saturday. Absolute shocking. What is going on at this club? Do these players want it? If they don't, then fine. We'll stay in League One and they can all fuck off, find another club, and then we'll find some players that actually want to play for this club and get this players promoted. Sorry for the bad language, but I'm absolutely fuming because this is not a Derby County team that I am enjoying watching play at the minute. First 45 minutes, that was Derby County. That was the Derby County that we've seen play for the 15-16 game unbeaten run that we went on, yet we were scoring goals. All of a sudden, second half came out and it was like we're back at Fleetwood again. No heart, no desire, no nothing. And we could see two absolute sloppy goals. All could have been avoided. Poor defending. And, all of a sudden now we're looking behind us going, oh no, Peterborough are a point behind us in the league. We could drop out of the top six. Wickham also fought back from 2-0 down against Port Vale to get a 2-2 draw. They're still in the hunt. It's shocking. If Derby, we mentioned it on the last show with Nick Webster. Nick Webster, he said that Derby were maybe lucky to be in the position that we are in with the squad we've got. I think I'm starting to agree with him now. Maybe we are. Maybe we have taken the squad for granted. Maybe the legs aren't there anymore. It was absolutely so infuriating. And it's all right saying I'm going to get a reaction. It's all right having a reaction for 45 minutes, but games are 90 minutes long. And this is something that we are seeing happen far too often since I don't know, maybe I think it was the FA Cup against West Ham. We lost that game. And we've not looked right since. Chris, welcome to the show, mate. How you doing,
Evening,
mate?
Simon. It's all right. I just sat back and watched you
Oh,
go through it, and
mate,
yeah,
honestly.
interesting discussions to have this next half hour or so. Because yes, as much a lot was right in the first half, a lot was very, very wrong in the second.
I was lost for words. First 45 minutes, I thought this is better. This is the Derby County we used to, as I just said then. Second half, let's put it this way. That first half, we controlled the midfield and we controlled the play. They did not get a sniff at us at all. I said to you on the preview show on Thursday with Nick, I said the players to watch: Joe Ward, Johnson Clark Harris, and Ephron Mason Clark. Right? I said that. We nullified them in the first half. Second half, different story. Mason Clark scores. Can't even remember who got the second one because I'd lost interest by them because there just was nothing in it. Even when we went 1-0 behind, I listened to Paul Warren after the game and he said, "Oh yeah, we were still in it. We weren't. The heads dropped."
Nathaniel Oak Beta
That's
scored
the
the
one.
second.
Oh yeah, the Rams TV commentator kept on saying that his sister was a GB athlete. Thanks for
Yeah,
that
she is.
pointless.
Yeah.
Thanks for that pointless bit of information that I didn't need to know. I'm on one, Chris. I really
Ah,
am.
this is going to be fun.
So yeah, Chris, how do we explain that collapse? You're a coach. How do you explain that?
We can break down various situations in the game from starting 11s, formations. The reality is that at half time, Derby had nullified what was being thrown at them. Um, what I don't understand, and I put this on Twitter, as a coach, yes, you stick to your strengths and you don't change what isn't not working, should I say. If it's working, stick to what you have. But as I said to you on the previous podcast, one thing that I always do when I'm coaching, and if there's two or three of us, is we always watch what the opposition are doing. And when they came out second half, there was clearly a switch in formation. A couple of fresh substitutions came on, and we did not react to it one bit. And I do not understand This to me has happened. I think there was a double substitution at Plymouth,
One at Shrewsbury.
double substitution at Shrewsbury, and I think the Plymouth subs were both. One of them got an assist, one of them got a goal. It happened again against Peterborough, and I just do not understand how we have a coaching staff of 4 strong, and not one of them is working out that there is opposition changes that have come out second half. And I think it also happened. I think you could probably say Barnsley as well. They changed. To me, there's a fundamental issue at half time. I don't know what it is, Simon, but now if you look at Peterborough, Shrewsbury, Plymouth, all of them have gone exactly the same way.
Mm.
We've gone in at half time, comfortable in one game, cruising.
Yeah.
And you could say that at Plymouth, to be fair, we're in control, and we're definitely in control at Peterborough. And there is
it
a
was like
mental...
watching top of the league versus bottom of the league. That's how the difference of class.
Yeah. And then they came out second half, and wow, I did not recognize anybody from the first 45.
No, I didn't, and that was a frustrating. You thought, I get, managers. If something ain't going right, you change it, and it definitely wasn't going right for Peterborough in the first half. But all of a sudden, that second half, we went from the team that were pressing them, because we pressed them, we pressed well. Our midfield, especially Harvey White, he was flying into everything. Maybe a little bit reckless at times, but he set the tone after 30 seconds.
He did.
This is how we're going to play. And Warren said in his post match that he was pleased with that first 45-minute performance. And granted, he's right to be. Did he just say, right, well, that's your performance, those levels cannot drop? Well, they did drop. And granted, Harvey White has a chance, I think, just before they went 1-0 up. Supposed to save from the Peterborough keeper, but we didn't look as secure. We didn't look as confident in possession as we had done. It was almost as if, like, well, Peterborough pressed us and didn't give us more time on the ball like they did in the first half. And it's almost like teams are now saying, well, okay, Derby, then we know what's going to happen. They're going to come out, they're going to play their own game, they're going to wear themselves out because they're going to press us. Hold on, be tight, be strong, be solid for 45 minutes, try not to concede. In the second half, go at them because they're knackered. And that's what it looks like. And I've seen all the excuses on Facebook I've seen them all. I've seen Warren out. Warren didn't know what he's doing. I've seen, well, remember, we only had 5 players at the start. We've had no pre-season. All that. We almost didn't have a club. Yeah, but we've got a club now. We've got well more than 5 players. We are now 8 games left of the season. Fitness shouldn't be an issue. The only thing that you're looking at then is the fact that our players are too old to suit Warren's style. That's why they can't do it for 90 minutes. But if that's the case, you've got to run your knackers off for 60 minutes and get a good lead.
I think you have a good point there. The press that he demands from the team clearly takes out a lot of fuel out of the legs in most of the players that are starting. And then you're expecting the same from the players that are coming on off the bench. And if they're not of the same caliber or like for like, you're not going to get the same intensity on that press. And I'm with you, because a lot of these excuses on Twitter, and we've all been looking up and down various social media. And again, there's always a divide with opinion when your team is doing well, and then all of a sudden your team isn't doing well. This is like a mini slump. It's more than a mini slump. I think we've won 4. I think we've only won 4 games since the West Ham game, if someone was telling me. Could that have been the catalyst? Could the thumping by West Ham knocked it out of them? I don't think so. But going back to what you were saying, people weren't saying these things when we were flying high, 6 points or 5 points off the top 3 with games in hand. But all of a sudden now, I'm an optimist. I've been saying from day one, we'll get promotion, and I put my hand up now, and I now look back and think, wow, wow, and I was looking at the squad, and I still look at the squad on paper. Yes, okay, there's a divide of opinion regarding people. Have they passed it? Have they not passed it? Is he experienced enough? Is he not experienced enough from front to back? The reality is these are professional sports persons. They are paid to be professional. They are paid to be fit at what they do. He's seeing them during training, Monday to Friday. They're getting paid for the work that they put into it. And he tells us on his preview on a Friday or on a Thursday, everything looked good in training. They all look sharp. We have a fit squad. And he said that again. We have a fit squad with no issues. Is it a mental thing? He said. Well, we looked fit for 45 minutes, came off positive, and within 10 minutes, the whole thing had just fallen apart. And that's really what the debate should be about. What happens between minute 46 and 60 week in, week out now? Because as soon as Derby, I look at Conor Hourihane, when they scored that first goal, if you look at his reaction when it goes in, and we could blame lots of people about the Peterborough goal. We could blame Cashin's positioning. We could blame Fozzie. We could blame the fact that came through our midfield too easy. We could blame Wildsmith wasn't covering his near post, which is another question to have. But Conor Hourihane, absolutely, rather than turn around and said to the boys as an experienced player, come on, guys, let's roll our sleeves up. He's berating, and I mean berating, and that's not good to see. When you see players shouting at each other, then there's something more to it.
Yeah, I mean, he lost the ball.
He
And
did.
then he couldn't track his runner because he's not quick enough.
They're trying to pull him back by the shoulder, isn't it, if you watch it?
Yeah, he does, but he's too strong. And then obviously Fozzie tried to shepherd it out, fell over, and it didn't quite work. And yeah, and like you say, Cashin maybe could have got there a bit quicker, didn't. Wildsmith again, not really covered himself in glory, and that's the issue. I remember when we went on this run, Wildsmith was being praised. Me and you were praising Wildsmith. He looks like his confidence shot at the minute, and you don't want that in your goalkeeper. Every time, I mean, look, it's weird actually. This like the last few goals, a couple of goals he's conceded. I think there was the one against Oxford, one against, I think it was one against Shrewsbury, possibly one against Fleetwood, where the ball's gone in and then he's gone down injured, holding. Are you thinking, hey, if you don't want to play, or if you're going to feign an injury when you've let a goal in, then we'll bring him. We'll bring in Luke McGee. This is now the knit and grit. This is it, and that's that. To be honest, here we go. His form's dipped since McGee's come in.
It's a very good point.
Is he now feeling the pressure, going, "Oh, I've got to perform. I've got to perform. I've actually got a decent competition behind me now." But that's football, and he's been a number two for years, so he should know what it's like to be a number two. Now he's number one. He's got to deal with that pressure, and this is but and then obviously the second goal, it's more real calamitous defending, ping pong, balls pinging around, tackles not being made, and again, Wildsmith could take some blame on that second goal. He didn't catch the shot or didn't push it away. He just pushed it straight into the striker that was running in. But
it wasn't a hard. It wasn't a hard first shot, was it?
That's
savable.
Yeah, that's basic goalkeeping. That's basic. Right, it's down. It's in your stomach. That should be held on to. Really, if you were coaching me, if you were coaching me, and you'd ping that at me, and I'd not held that in, you would have given me what for?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Do you know what I mean? So but again, we're going through. Again, we could go through every player and say this is what they did wrong, this is what they didn't. For some reason, Barker gave Hayden Roberts man of the match. I think he just had to pick a player, really. Because
I always find that quite embarrassing.
It is
when they ask for a man of the match on Rams TV, knowing the capitulation of the team. Surely, I understand they're under a sponsor responsibility, or they're being paid to do a sponsor, and I think it's a beer manufacturer, if I remember rightly.
Hobgoblin, isn't it?
Yeah, and other good beers are available. But come on, sometimes you've got to turn around and you know tell Hobgoblin the sponsor in a corner, or tell Hobgoblin, you can't. Yeah, okay. The way I see it, look, Simon, if we've had this discussion before. If we look at let's look first of all, people were crying out for a change of formation. We got I got the team very wrong. I was out by 3 or 4 players.
I was out by one.
Yeah, you were more accurate.
I had the wrong formation, but I had the right players in.
So basically, people were saying that the team was wrong against Fleetwood. McGoldrick has to be in. We have to play Dobbin. We have to be attacking. Conor Horan has to be further forward. And to be fair, for the first 40 minutes, it looked okay. So everybody got what they wanted, a settled back four, which they all said was their preferred. And up to half time, out of the 11 starting players, I would probably say that 6 were probably 7 out of 10, and probably three were probably 8 out of 10, and doing okay and doing their jobs. The problem is that the second half, I would say none of them were 7 out of 10, and that means that all of them. In fact, I would probably say 7 of them were 5 and below. They were that poor, and again, it comes back down to continuity. We've always said that to win a football match, you've got to have, or any sport match, you have to have a high percentage of your team being consistent between 7 and 8 out of 10 performing. You can hide 2 or 3 bad performances. You cannot hide 6 or 7 or 8. You ultimately end up coming undone and getting beat. And again, it happened again. And I tweeted, what has he said to them at halftime? We've spoke about the tactical change that Peterborough made, but on a bit more pace. Darren Ferguson obviously looked at us and thought, right, whilst they're on the ball, they're calm, they're comfortable, Derby, but they're not stretching us. We haven't got any blistering pace. Dobbin, with all due respect to him, at the moment, can't hit a barn door when he gets the opportunity. He can't.
No.
I don't know if it's confidence. Who knows? So you've got to take him out of the equation as a goal scorer.
And and this is it. I mean, we said obviously that first 45, like you say, a lot of 7s out of 10s. But did we really create anything? And you just reminded me of Dobbin. Then I was trying to think of chances we created. There was the Horahan chance where realistically,
White was a White that got tipped over the bar. Was that
White? That was the second half. In the first half, Horahan was like 1-on-1 with the keeper. He had White. He could have laid it back.
Yeah, squared it to White 1-0. I agree.
It should have been, but he didn't. And then Dobbin had a shot where he's done his usual, taken a couple of players, and you're thinking, don't hit it from here. 20 yards, 22 yards out, and he spins it over the bar.
And McGoldrick got into the area with a decent dribble, and he could have offloaded it. I thought Horahan, you talking about that's when he should have squared it. For that 10 to 15 minutes, I thought he looked excellent.
Yeah.
When he had that free roll. But you're right. We that's 2 games on the trot now. We haven't scored. And shots on goal was 1 against Fleetwood. And according to the stats here by our friends at Sky Sports, we had shots on target 5 against Peterborough. Now, I'm struggling to remember them. I know White had 1.
Horahan.
Barkhausen's header was over the bar.
Yeah. I think McGoldrick had a bit of a stab at the keeper, which it rolled to him. There was nothing that really tested him at all, if I remember rightly.
But then again, I have to look at Sky Stats sometimes and laugh, because total shots Derby 13, on target 5, off target 4. What happened to the other 4? I presume they're blocked. Why can't they put blocked?
I know. I don't know. But yeah, it's a bit concerning that we've not scored in 2 games now. It's a bit concerning that we haven't created many clear-cut chances. and that's my worry is we are playing some nice football at times, but in and around the box, we're just not doing it. Why not? Well, what's got to change? We've had different players in that. We had Sibley in. We've obviously had Knight as a 10, Sibley as a 10. I think White was a 10. Well, I think that midfield of Bird, White, and Horahan were just switching positions of where they were going to play. But yeah, we're not scoring when we don't even really look like scoring, and I just can't put my finger on it. Why all of a sudden we look like we're struggling to score goals? I mean, you look at like Plymouth. Plymouth, we never looked like scoring. And then we got one chance and we took it.
Well, that came from a fantastic ball from David McGoldrick, the Plymouth goal. It was a genius bit of football. But if you actually look back at the last 4 or 5 games, and probably, to be fair, most of the season, the actual killer ball, which comes from a quality midfielder who is in there to create an assist, hasn't been there for a while. You could say really it hasn't been there all season, and with a lot of goals that we've scored, if you look at it, have either come from skillful wing play, or scrappy scrappy presses. When it comes to if you try and count how many goals have we scored from, I go back to the days of 2014, 2013, 2014, when you'd go to Yeovil and put together 29 passes and then Bryson just pop it in to make it 4. And you look at the way we completely destroy the likes of Brighton. And I know people are going, Chris, you're talking absolute nonsense because that was a different team. It was built over 3 or 4 years. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, you look at our team, have we got a player or 2 players you can go, that guy can ping a pass from 20, 30 yards and just cut through teams, because other teams in this league seem to have it.
Yeah.
And cut through us. What are we missing? Horahan was brought in to be that role. For the first 45 minutes, he looked composed and he looked good. Max Bird used to be this player that was renowned for a great accuracy, attention to detail, a good footballer. But if you look at his assists, he probably hasn't got more than 4 or 5, if you're lucky. So what do you think, Simon? Where is it? Because I can't see it in the squad. And again, it's probably another player, if they're out there, which is very difficult to say, that we miss.
Yeah, I think you're spot on. But another thing as well, I'd say is there's not for me, there isn't enough movement around the box. When you see it, especially against teams that like to defend against us and sit back and put men behind the balls, you can't just stand there and wait for the ball. There's no movement off the ball for anyone to pick out a pass. And I think that, again, this is part of the issue. Everybody wants it on a plate at the edge of the box and then try and perform something magical. We're just not getting that movement. You brought up, obviously, the Yeovil goals. Obviously, those goals come around once every few years. They're not, they're a rarity where you get that many passes. But, you go back to that team, there was a lot of movement in that goal. And that's just something that we're lacking. You see it so many times, and we've seen it so many times before as well. Not just this season, but seasons gone by. Is players seem to stand on the 18-yard line. You put a striker on the penalty spot, and that's it. I looked at the crosses yesterday. Saturday. I looked at the crosses. There were some good deliveries in there, but the players just weren't there. They weren't moving. And I look at that Barkhausen chance in the second half. That there, where his position was, you'd expect a striker to be there at the front post. Why are they not there? You don't expect your winger to be at the front post like that. And that I can't remember. I think Collins was on at the time as well, and he was at the penalty spot. McGoldrick was on the 6-yard line at the back post. What's Collins doing on the penalty spot? He should be at that front post. He should be busting a gut. We saw the goal against Oxford where Louis Sibley ran across the front post and stuck it in the net. And you said to me at the time, that's what Collins should be doing. That's where he should be. But he's not. He's a striker. That's where he should be doing that. That's where the good strikers end up. That's where they put themselves. That's why we did it when he scored 20-odd goals for Luton in League One. that's what he was doing. He's just not doing that now. Is that because he's not fit enough? He's only 31. For me, that isn't an excuse to be able to get in the right positions.
One thing I will say, Tom, is I don't think this season at all we've had a cohesive front two or a cohesive attacking line where, for me, when I watched the first half at Peterborough, one thing that sprung to mind to me was that there was no telepathy, if there's such an understanding. To
Yeah,
me, there wasn't runs off the ball or movement that was established and sort of almost like where he's going to go, you know what you're going to do. The Hourihan, for example, to White,
yeah.
it was a blatant, obvious
And
10-yard pass.
but the thing was, White was screaming for
It
it,
was, and
and
open, completely open.
and you could see his frustration when he didn't get it.
Yeah.
And that is a young lad telling off a 31, 32-year-old that's been in and around the game for a while now that he should have played that ball back. There was no angle for Horahan to try and squeeze that into the far post at all. That was the opportunity there. Do you know what? If that had gone in, I think Peterborough would have folded then. Because they were under so much pressure, they could not get out. Anything up to Clark Harris was dealt with, so he wasn't getting in the game. And I think they would have just gone, what do we do? They are too good for us.
Go on,
and I think then what happens then? We get another goal. We go 2-0 in, and Warren goes, right, let's. He learns from the Shrewsbury. You'd like to think he would have learned from Shrewsbury and said, right, let's not shut up shop, but let's stay tight now. They're going to come out after us.
Yeah, and it comes back down to game management, Sam, doesn't like they came off the pitch at halftime at 0-0, and I thought we're not scoring today, so we need to go. I've said it before. Billy Davis, Shitazri football. Pardon my French, and apologies for all the young viewers. But what I mean by that is, in when he got his promotion back in 2007, 2008, and I've seen it with other teams who have got promotion. Reading were a classic example back in the I think about 2011, 2012 they did it, where you win games 1-0. You give up possession. You look at the scenario that's occurred in the first half, and you realise reality is you're not going to score for whatever reason. The way you're playing, you're not going to score, so you shut shop.
Yeah.
You become very mundane, and you hope for a set play or a dead ball situation or a mistake. Well, you come out of the whole game with a 0-0. Because I look at Plymouth and I look at Peterborough, and if we would have got 2 draws out of that, I would have took them and gone, fantastic results, Derby, great confidence. You add 2 onto the board of what we've got now and take 2 off the board that Peterborough have got, which means it would still be a game ahead of them. And I just do not understand the game management that's being played out. And that's my biggest concern. You know, people keep turning around and saying, these are not Paul Warne's players. Look, when he came through that door for that interview, he knew the squad he was getting and he knew the embargo. Yes, it's a 4-year deal. Yes, he's got a transfer window or 2 to get it right. I'm not disputing that. We're talking about the now and not the future.
Yeah.
He is a coach with a coaching staff who openly turns around and says he's tried to sign Didsey and Hourihan this season when he was at Rotherham.
Yeah.
And he didn't get them. They came to Derby. And then Collins, he also tried to get Collins. Now, you tell me, of all those, but people keep saying they're not a Paul Warne type of player. Okay, we know what do we know what a Paul Warne type of player actually is?
They seem to think it's 11 players that run around all, for 90 minutes, but it's not. He likes a big man up top, which makes sense for the.
Used to be Crooks. Yeah, used to be Crooks.
Used to be Crooks. Yeah, it was a big man. He bullied defenders. And that's what he wants his midfield to work though. But I think the thing is though, he was looking at obviously Didsey, Colo, and Hourihan. You're thinking, well, they must have not had a decent sized budget or anything, which is why he was looking at them. Probably not his first target, but that's who is available. But they obviously came to Derby, so he's got them now. Now can he get the best out of them? I read a tweet that someone posted on Facebook, a screenshot of when I think obviously when Warren signed, someone obviously asked a Rotherham fan what's he like, and he says, "Oh yeah, he'll come in, he'll have them all running around for 90 minutes. They'll go on a big long run, and then they'll dip me at the end of the season." And I'm thinking, fair enough, but that's worked for him 3 times in League One. So, and which is true. He's got promoted 3 times out of League One. I know he's gone back down again, but this season he may have looked to change his style because he knows that isn't going to work in the Championship, because that's what keeps happening, and he keeps burning the players out. And when it comes to the end of the season, they're all knackered. But we saw Bielsa do it with Leeds, and Bielsa got success out of it. He got their players. They played at such a high intensity for 90 minutes, and they got it right, and they got the right players in. But I think he does maybe need to look and go, right, okay, I know the type of player I want. At the end of the day, we don't know what type of player he wants. He will know. He will know what he's looking for. And obviously, it's up to the new head of recruitment to go find those players. And I just think that it obviously, you mentioned it earlier about no one said all of this when we were winning. Of course you're not. But I just still think that,
including me.
Yeah, exactly. But I still think, obviously we've got a show. We've got a platform that we express our opinions on, and we do obviously read content from other fans that may not, have a platform to express their opinion, or they just put it on Facebook or Twitter or wherever. But we put a platform, we look at them, and and that's fine. And everybody's entitled to their own opinion. We just put out on our platform, and no, we didn't expect this to happen, this lull. I'm not someone that's going to get worn out or anything like that. And I don't think for me, it strikes that we've not learned that you can't just be sacking managers because they go through a bad run of form. We did that with Mel Morris, and look where that's got us. Granted, there was obviously other things as well, but we can't. Klaus wanted Paul Warne from the moment he bought this club. He wanted Warne. That was the manager he wanted, and he went out and he got him because he thought, yep, he's the man that I want. He's the man that's going to take us back up to the Championship. Now, he did an interview with Marketing Derby, and he says he wants success, but he doesn't want it. He's not stupid, and he knows it's not going to be a quick fix. But he's hoping, in 5 years' time, we will be in the Championship again as an established Championship side. So that's obviously his goal. That's his aim. But he wants to do it properly. And I don't think he's going to be someone that pulls the trigger. Interestingly enough, in the interview he did say as well that the club was 1 week away from liquidation. So for those that went, oh no, the club would have never gone out of business. Yes, it would. That's how close we were. And I think the position we're in now, we've got to look at it and go, look, we're still in the playoffs. Yes, we're not in a great run of form. Obviously, we looked at it at the start of the season. You were adamant we'd get top 2.
I was, and that was based on the squad on paper.
Yeah,
it's a very good squad.
It is, but obviously, I think our downfall was not being able to strengthen in January. Apparently we had a striker lined up when Asula got injured. Asula went back
from Villa.
Yeah, but obviously Max Berg got injured, so we had to use Harvey White to come in and replace him. So we have been unfortunate, but at the end of the day, yes. Whilst I am annoyed about the defeat, and I think it's more the manner of the defeat. Yet another 45 minutes of brilliance with no end product, followed by 45 minutes of getting battered and losing the game ultimately. It's still, you still think, well, actually, we are still in the top 6. Granted, it's going to be tough.
Yeah.
But you know what? These we know what football's like. You could have a bad run of results. Then we could have Ipswich come to us on Saturday, and we could get a 1-0 win out of nothing. We could get battered for 90 minutes.
Or look at Forest Green today.
Yeah, exactly. They beat Sheffield Wednesday, league leaders. Yep. Anything can happen, and that's all it takes. And I look at the West Ham game, and I think it was a little bit of a turning point. because this team hadn't been beaten. You know, we played against Liverpool in the cup. Granted, we lost on penalties, but we still kept our momentum because I think they were so hyped up that they'd taken Liverpool all the way to penalties that it didn't bother them. But West Ham, obviously, we were well beaten. I think the squad was changed quite a bit, and it just didn't happen for us. We didn't look like scoring. We were outclassed all over the pitch. Obviously, we bounced back and then we beat Morecambe 5-0. And then you think, right, sound, it's not affected us. But then we go to Wickham, we lose 3-2. And I think that's when it really hit him. And it might be the fact that, okay, we've lost. What do we do now? Do you know what I mean? And I just
I know, I get what you mean. And look, the same players got us to fourth in the league. And the same players are now struggling to hang in there. Now, good friend of the show, Ed Dawes, said on Saturday, I always listen to the podcast that Radio Derby put out after games, and he said he thinks it's fatigue, and the legs are gone, and they've given it everything they've got. And I get that, but we're also getting some pundits who are disagreeing with that and saying that there's more to it than just legs. You know, Eric Steele was not agreeing with that. He thought it was just a poor second half in general. But I go back to your observations on Paul Warne now. I think next season, is going to be obviously defining. We don't know which league we're going to be in. At the moment, it looks more like inevitable I was wrong and we're going to stay in League One. Now, what I've said to people about his time at Rotherham is that when they got promoted last season, they did have a capitulation and they were flying at the top or second, and then they lost some very strange games. I think they lost something like 4 on the bout. They had a really tough time. Like you said, it could have been down to fatigue, could have been confidence. But this is quite common in his tenure with Rotherham manager. And also,
it's quite common at Derby County as well.
It is. And these promotions that he's had are in League One, where they were nowhere near, in my opinion, as strong as the League One we have this year. Like, you look at this season's League One, and we mentioned this on the podcast with Nick on Thursday. It is the strongest League One ever. There's 8 teams in that league, in that division, that all would sit in the Championship, some in the Premiership, and you would not batter an eyelid. You'd go, yeah, Premiership club, yeah, Championship club, but they're not. They're in League One. And is it a bonus year and we should just embrace it? Perhaps there's that analogy. You could say, yeah, we've got a club, we've given it a good go, but inevitably we've fallen short. I don't buy into that, Simon. I just don't. You get there for a reason. You need to stay there for a reason. You get paid big bucks to rotate. The squad is 20 strong. He sent Liam Thompson out for a reason. 1 minute we're moaning that we haven't got any bodies through the door. Next minute we're sending one out the door. What 1 minute we're seeing Rooney come in, have a great game, a consistent game. I've never not seen him perform less than 7 out of 10. All right, he gives your penalty away. I get that. We all do. We've all made some howlers.
Yeah.
But in general, he's a very good footballer.
He is. I agree.
And he you can't have the discussions that cash in is his first season as a professional. He's going to make mistakes. And then in the same bite, turn around and go, Rooney's young, it's his first season. We've got to be gentle with him and nurture him. This is where I disagree with Ed, and I disagree with other pundits where, look, tell me the difference between Rooney and Cashin. They're both around the same age. Rudy's experience in the first team is less than Cashin's because of the selections policy. He's being selected some weeks and he's not being selected the others. Not because of his age and not because of his first year experience, because they both have the same background. So, you know, is this something? I just think there is.
I wonder if he's trying to keep players happy.
It could be that.
Do you know what I mean? As in, if you were to bring Rooney in, the likelihood is you'd bring him in at right back, which would then mean Corey Smith, who's not really put a foot wrong, apart from well, apart from the Fleetwood game where everyone was bad. That's the only time I've seen him play bad. He's normally Mr. Consistent. So you put him at right back. You've got to drop one of either Bird, Horahan, or Knight out of that midfield. And I think you look at Horahan, he's allegedly on 12 grand a week.
Yeah, apparently.
Is he going to drop him? Maybe he's trying to keep players happy so they'll stay next season. I know it's normally you that has the conspiracy, not me. Do you know what I mean? But I just think we're such a small squad. I know we've got a small squad, but like I say, we're letting players out. Someone like Rooney he's on our lips again, and this is it. We know we're not saying he's going to be a game changer, but what we are saying is bring him on, let him play, because he's a very, very talented footballer. Whether you play him at centre back, right back, even midfield, and I was surprised when we when Birdie was injured. Why did we bring in someone like Harvey White to replace him when you could look at it and go, well, we've got Smith there, we've got Rudy that can play there? Or was it the case of if one of them gets in, then we are well and truly knackered? That might be the only reason why. So it's a bit strange that we seem to mention Rooney every single
all the
podcast
time
at the minute.
All the time. I don't understand why he's in and out of the squad. I don't get it. The guy, every time he has played, he has shown cultured football. He's shown an attitude of positivity. He's shown responsibility. He's shown an eagerness to want to play football. He can tackle. He can head the ball. He's a very good young talent. We always are told if you're good enough, you're old enough.
Yeah.
So where's that gone? Has that analogy now gone in the bin? Because to me, it hasn't. I also go back down to something which was interesting. I think they were saying that one of the guys, see, Peterborough have signed 3 or 4 of their stars from non-league. I think one was from Barnet recently. We've never, the last non-league superstar we brought in through the door at Derby, I was trying to think about this today before we did the show. Now, I can remember Malcolm Christie from Nuneaton Borough. When I was trying to think since then, have we actually picked someone out of non-league and this guy has become a superstar?
Yeah. I mean, they were talking about, I cannot remember the guy's name or who he plays for or anything, but he scored almost, I think it's around about 40 goals this season. He's set to break the record of non-league goals.
He's got 5 hat-tricks on the trot, hasn't he, or something?
And you're thinking, well, why not take a punt on someone like that? I know it's non-league, but he's not going to cost you much, is he? If anything. Just to take, obviously, if we're in League One, I would. Because and then they had a punt. This was on TalkSport. They had a pundit on who was a non-league like pundit, seen him play and everything, and I think he's an ex-player. I can't remember his name now. And he did say that he would not be surprised to see him do it in League Two or even League One. That's how good he is.
Well,
but you're right, Chris. You are spot on. This, I suppose we've had since Steve McLaren took over, we've had transfer windows where we are bringing in named or known players. Actually, I wouldn't even say since McLaren because I'd never heard of George Thorne, to be honest, before he came and put on a Derby shirt. So I'd look at it as the Clement hit when Paul Clement was in charge.
But it was still 3 million quid, and it was still well known in the academy, and he'd had loans previously. I think it was wasn't it Watford on loan.
Oxford.
No, when he was at West Brom
I
before he
know.
came to Derby.
I'm sure he went to Oxford
Oxford, okay.
before, and then came to Derby, and then obviously went back to Oxford.
But
Uh,
but you know, this might be all being put in place, Simon. We might have a non-league scout going out there.
yeah, yeah.
I just find that sometimes the basics are just not there.
Mm.
And you look at Clark Harris up top,
Yeah, yeah.
and you mentioned him as one to watch. I think he's got 24 this year.
Mm.
He wasn't skillful. He
No.
was just an out and out pacey animal
Mm.
who battered and battered. And for 45 minutes, we matched him.
Fozzie did a number on it. You watch
Yeah.
how many times Fozzie got in front of him in midfield at times. He'd come in with a flying boot, won the ball in front of him. He had no service whatsoever. And that, like I said, if you nullify him, they'll not score. But you've got to nullify. I mean, Joe Ward, he didn't really have a great game, but obviously Mason Clark, I said to him, he's rapid and he'll cause you problems.
Yeah. But
And
he's
he
not
did.
skillful.
No, he's not. He's just full of pace.
It's pace. It's pure out and out British pace. And I've said this.
But what I will say is he reminded me of Ebeselli, but he's got a little bit more up top. As you know, Ebeselli, you knew when he got the ball, he was just going to fly past players, but then he get his feet were too quick for his brain. And we sort of lack that sort of player. And
You do. And what I'm saying is, it's for 45 minutes we matched them.
yeah,
Cashin and Fozzie matched them. But what I'm saying is, and I've spoke about this in previous pods, there's only, you look at the good centre halves who come off a game at the end of 90 minutes, who are battered, bruised, cut, swollen eyes, legs are screaming. They know they've been in a battle. And what Peterborough did, they constantly targeted pace. They constantly targeted. Sooner or later, they knew that Fozzie and Cashin were going to start to tire, fall apart. And they continued the same process. Look at the goal that they scored first. Fozzie could get nowhere near him. Cashin couldn't get nowhere near him. This has happened more than once because all these second half goals are coming from concentration levels. Are they switched on when they come out straight second half? Formation changes. Are we not manning up? Game management. Are we not seeing that we need to see this one out? But also, I still believe that they target individual players in our team and say, right, we'll consistently attack him. Okay, first half, we could have turned around and gone, Fozzie, great job. Cashin, great job. But we didn't see them in the changing room. Were they breathing out the backsides? Were they absolutely exhausted? Did he look at the bench and go, oh, do I put Rooney on? Do I replace? I just find it all very strange how we can see it
yeah,
about to happen, but paid professionals can't see it about to happen.
it
Or
it it does seem, apart from last week, that he does like to make his substitutes after an hour. Every week, yeah.
predictable.
And you're just thinking, I understand. I think I understand why he didn't make any changes at half time. I think he felt, well, we're on top.
Yep, yep.
And he surely would have said to him, we just need to be a little bit cautious because we know they're going to come at us now. They're not, Darren. He says he knows Darren Ferguson, and he knew exactly. You knew what was going to come. I thought, for me, when that first half whistle went, I was going, we did not want that first half to end.
No, I agree. I think that's a really good point. But I also think we lost the midfield battle completely second half.
Oh, yeah.
Again, we the second half at Plymouth, we lost the midfield battle. And again, is it at that point where you turn around and go, Corey Smith, you've done really well in the first half. Let's put Rooney at right back. Corey, go into the middle, help Max, allow Harvey to push on with Connor. There's all kinds of slight tweaks I think could have made it better.
Yeah, I mean, and the thing is, you can tell the subs who they're going to be. You could, when Barkars was there, thinking, well, that'd be Mendes-Lang coming off. Grant, I was surprised the Collins for Horahan, I think it was switch. But I just felt it was just. I just thought that 45. I thought we've absolutely smashed these to bits, and I thought we did not want this half to end. And I thought we've got to be ready for this second half. But Max Bird looked leggy. he was, in fact, didn't look, he was not given any time in that second half. In that first half, he was allowed to drop into that little pocket just in front of the back four to get the ball. In the second half, he was not allowed any of that, and he struggled. Obviously, we've been out for a few weeks now, so fitness might be an issue slightly. But yeah, that was a big factor. I think Harvey White continued to graft, but he just no one was with him. I didn't see the penalty incident. I don't know if you did, Chris, but I didn't see it. I'd literally, I think, what was happening? I have
Classic,
been.
classic case of you've seen it given,
It was it. Right, okay.
but you could turn around and you could relate it to the Plymouth.
Right, with you. Yeah,
Yeah, it's one of those. You've seen them given, you've seen them not given.
yeah. Well, we have mentioned it before, though, haven't we? About obviously not getting penalties. And
Well,
if that's it,
we've had enough this year. I think we've had
yeah,
plenty this season. We've normally, we had two at one particular ground and didn't score neither, if I remember. So
yeah, Morecambe in it, yeah,
yeah.
yeah. So, but other than that, the rest it just looks really disjointed.
One thing I will say, Simon. Sorry, just to add, what were your thoughts of Paul Warren's post match?
What, as in, yeah, well,
His
as a
opinion of the game.
well, he was right. We did dominate the first 45 minutes. He's got, but and then obviously second half, he said he was pleased with the first half performance. Second half, he felt we dipped a bit. And I thought, well, okay, yeah, just say it how it is, Paul. That's exactly what happened. But why did we dip? That's what you're not answering. And those random moments. What random moments?
I thought they had at least 3 or 4 clear-cut chances.
Who? Peterborough.
Peterborough.
Yeah. Well, they missed. There was a header, weren't there? That should have been scored.
Clark Harris.
Clark Harris. Yeah, I thought that, and that was in the first half, near the end of the first half. I'm sure it was, and he should have scored that. And you're thinking, bloody hell. That's the first real attempt they've had. But yeah, I I don't know. I think he felt that he couldn't really. Do you know, like last week, after the Fleetwood game, he sort of shot from the hip, said it how it
Yeah,
was.
yeah.
I think he felt, well, they give me 45 minutes, so I couldn't really do it again because that second half performance was poor. And this is what I mean about him not wanting to upset players. By not playing Rooney and dropping someone, an experienced player, because he just doesn't want to upset them. But for me, he's got to say, he's got to sort of say that, well, they've changed the system, right? I need to do something. I didn't do it, or I tried to, but the players didn't respond to it.
Yeah, I can see that. But you see, I thought he was frightened to say how it was, that the second half was a capitulation.
Yeah.
And he's not going to come out on live radio and necessarily slag off his team. No one does that. You can have stern words, like he did his stern words at Fleetwood, but what I saw and heard from Paul's post match was not fabrication. That's a strong word, but almost clueless of what to do, in the sense of he. I said to my dad today is that we're having to score 3 goals at the moment every game to win. The last 3 games we've conceded 2 goals.
Yeah.
Then you got the Cheltenham win, which, let's be honest, wasn't a great performance, but we got to win.
No.
Well,
Oxford
you could
weren't
say
great, was it?
and Oxford wasn't great. And then you go back to Barnsley, where you needed to score 5 to win the game. I would much rather have a team that needs 1 to win the game and get in the playoffs. That's my personal opinion. To me, put a brick wall up, be absolutely boring. We've got no teeth. We've got no bite. We know that. We can keep on about that time and time again. We haven't got that team, and we can keep putting down players that we want all along. But what you do have still is the mechanics of a backroom staff that can work together to put a formation and team out there that does not concede 2, 3, 4 goals a game. Now,
well, I tell you what, Chris, let's just have a quick listen to Paul Warne's post match. I've got it from Rams TV.
Okay,
we'll have a quick listen to that. Why not?
Thanks for speaking to us. What's your thoughts after that?
I mean, this is my about 18th interview, isn't it? So I apologise. I thought first half we were excellent, but without creating enough gilt-edged chances. And away from home, if you have that much of the ball, you know, it always comes down to chances and goals. And we didn't do enough today to score enough goals to win. And that's sort of my assessment. Second half, obviously the game's not going to be the same. They came at us, they sort of changed their system. It was 2 against our 2 centre-halves, which caused us problems. We didn't defend well enough when called upon in the random moments. They got 2, could have got 3, could have got 4 in fairness. And when, in fairness, Tom Barkhausen could have scored. Harvey had a good effort. He's got a penalty that he says the player didn't get any of the ball, but I haven't seen that back. But our second half performance wasn't bad, but like I said, in the random moments they were just better.
Was it, again, another reminder of if you don't take your chances or at least take advantage of the fact that when you're on top, things can change second half?
Well, yeah, definitely. I mean, obviously people watching this probably getting the hang of what I think, but it's not just about keeping the ball. It's not about keeping it and, you know, keeping the ball for ball's sake. That every time you have the ball, there should be a purpose to your play. There should be a dynamic part of your play. You should be trying to create goals and score. And I'm saying that box to box today, I thought our play was really good. We just didn't have enough cutting edge in the final third. Like, the pitch didn't help either team, to be fair. It was a bit bobbly, but there's a few little 1-2s around the edge of the box where I think these conditions, and you just got to let your peg go. Like, you know, if you interviewed any of the lads, I think they'd all say the same. Like, the performance level was significantly better than last week, so I'm really proud on that. But our final third play, we get in good positions, we overhit crosses, we load the box, we change the system at 1-0. Like, I'm not that guy who's happy with a 1-0 and just wait for the last 10 minutes, then go for it. We changed it. We went from a 6 and 2 8s to playing a 10 and 2 9s. We were open. I appreciate that, and we're more vulnerable then in the last 15-20 minutes. But we still have got to be better in that final third.
Is that almost the most frustrating thing, that you got in so many good areas? Okay, some didn't lead to chances, but you got in areas, situations to really hurt Peterborough today.
Sorry. Is that the worst bit, that we got in good areas and didn't score?
No, it's almost the most frustrating thing, that you had the opportunity. It wasn't like you came here and didn't play particularly well, didn't have many chances. You had plenty of opportunities to hurt them.
I thought, that is frustrating. I thought in large periods of the game today we looked like the home side, as well as I can put it, and I thought we were in full control. But you know, full control. The judges on the goals, and in both boxes, defending and attacking, we weren't good enough to win it. And that sometimes that is what football is. We've won games where we haven't been the better team, possibly, but you know, it's just had that little bounce and it's fallen to the right person at the right time. And at the moment we're in that bit of a, sticky wicket where we're not free flowing, scoring as much, and we need to get back to that. And I don't want to make it a big issue, because as soon as you make it a big issue, it's a bigger problem. But I just think that, you know, we'll score maybe next week, hopefully. We'll score a goal, and you know, the nerves will calm down. But look, the lads' attitude was amazing, because they've had a tough week. You know, I'm not saying we trained them to death, but we've done a lot of out of possession stuff at the start of the week, and they've been really good. And I really thank them for that, because you know, I've been in dressing rooms where managers lose it and it goes the other way. They stuck with it. Their attitude was spot on, and they can go home feeling a bit unfortunate they haven't come away with a point. But in them moments, like I said, we weren't good enough.
It's important to remember as well, you're still in the top 6. There's 8 games to go. It's in your hands. Just, you mentioned the other day that this result, either way that it went, wasn't going to sort of define things for the next couple of weeks. Is it important to everyone to keep cool heads at the moment, and like you mentioned there, not make things a bigger issue than they actually are?
Yeah. I mean, I'm a reasonably intelligent guy. I know what football's like after the result, so no one will keep their head, even if they watch this for the next 3 or 4 hours. But come Sunday, Monday, you get excited about the Ipswich game, and you think, you know, we've got to try and get one of them two spots. And if we come up short, we come up short. We just have to rebuild and go again next year. But we shouldn't come up short. We've got, you know, I think we've got enough in the building. But when we have the ball, we just have to be, you know, not dynamic, but risk taken. I don't know, but we're just missing something, and I can't honestly put my finger on it that I would like to share.
Ipswich then at Pride Park next week, that would be a great game for those little missing pieces of the jigsaw to come back into the table, because I would imagine it's the sort of game that you're probably pleased that you've got. Big crowd, good team coming to Pride Park. It's a great opportunity for the players to step up.
Yeah, it is. I mean, in fairness, it's a big crowd. If we play Mickle-over, in all due respect, there'll still be 28,000 there. So yeah, big crowd, big game against a really good team, very good team. In fairness, I've watched the last few games, me, Rich and Amy, so we're well aware of what Ipswich bring, and we'll have to be at our very best. But we'll have to, you know, against very good teams, you have to create chances and you have to take them. And look, Peterborough had one chance, their first chance today goes in. Unfortunately, ours didn't. So on another day, we might have come away with something. We might have got a draw. We might have even, you know, it's all a bit ifs, buts and maybes, but we might have won the game coming away thinking amazing. And everything else of your performance you forget. It's just about the goals, about creating, you know, memories. And I said to the lads before the game, you know, like you score and you win here, it'll feel $1 million. They did everything they could, but unfortunately we just didn't have enough quality to, you know, create and score.
Just last word for the fans, nearly 4,000. I know we've addressed this every time we spoke after an away game, but it's another incredible following.
Yeah, it is. And in fairness, I was, you know, it's on my shoulders, isn't it? I was ready to take absolute dog's abuse when I walked and clapped the fans after, because I understand their disappointment, as am I. I'm absolutely heartbroken that we lost a game that we look so good in patches. So, you know, I didn't hear anyone abuse me, but they're more than entitled to, because I'm in charge of a team that, you know, hasn't won. And I think we came here prepared to win. We did everything we could to win, but we just come up short again, which is disappointing. So for all the fans who kindly clapped me back, I'd sincerely say thank you. And if you did abuse me, I apologise, I didn't hear you. So I can leave here feeling reasonably good about myself, in the fact that, look, everyone wants success. Like, the lads give everything they can for success, and maybe we tried too hard. Maybe we tried too hard, you know, with maybe our final ball in, a bit nervy or whatever. So it's going to be a week really of a lot of out of possession stuff because of how Ipswich play, but when we do get it back, we need to, you know, be better in the final third. If that means we have to change the system, then that's something we're going to have to look at.
So that was Paul Warne there, speaking to Rams TV after the game. Chris, three points that I'll take from that. One, he mentioned nerves. Two, if we make it, we do. If we don't, we don't. We have to rebuild next season. And three, we're just missing that something that I can't share with you. Three interesting points he made there. Nerves. So clearly they're cracking under the pressure, it would seem. If he thinks that not scoring is making that a big issue is going to make them nervous. Obviously the comment regarding if we do make the top six, we do. If we don't, we don't. There's clearly not been much pressure put on him to get top six this season, where when we spoke to Liam Rosenior, or when Liam Rosenior was in charge at the start of the season, he constantly mentioned, "No, this team's got, you know, my goal, my target is to get this this team into the top six." You know, so he clearly knows that something. Warne knows that what's going wrong in his head, but he clearly can't share it with us. Which is, again, it goes back to the does he not want to upset certain players, certain things, or whatever. And so I think you're right when you said earlier on about them being something's not quite right somewhere else. I think you could have quite a valid point. And you know, he comes out every week and that's fine, and he does say stuff. I just wish sometimes managers would be a lot more open than they are, but I understand why they're not.
Yeah, I think I alluded to cohesion up front. There doesn't seem to be the same understanding of what people want. The two things that I got out of the interview, well, first of all, I felt sorry for him if that was his 18th interview, because I know it was the main game of focus for the day, with it being probably the biggest game of importance in England at that particular day. He said that there's enough in the building to sustain and win promotion. I said on paper, I agree.
Yeah.
And if you still write down the squad now, you'll turn around and forget their current form.
Yeah.
You'll turn around and go, yep, I wouldn't replace him. I wouldn't replace him. If you wrote down that 11 that started the game, you know, how many of them realistically would you take out the team if you had a opportunity to, or an alternative on paper? That's one question to ask yourself.
Maybe Dobbin as a winger.
Yeah.
Maybe White as a right back, just because he's not his position, and I'd put him in midfield and bring a right back in.
Yeah.
So sorry. So take White out, put Smith into midfield, and bring a right back in.
Yeah, and Fozzie possibly out of centre half.
Yeah, or so 3, maybe 4 if you're looking at Roberts at a left back, but it's not major surgery. Let's be honest.
No, it's not major surgery. Based on what we have in the building, if Chester was fit, he would go in there at right back. We know that, but he never has been fit. We said about once you have a racehorse, it's always risky buying a racehorse. You've got to keep him fit and fed.
Well, this is it. And he said, obviously, about Chesney pre-Fleetwood that he played 45 minutes for the 21s. He's going to play an hour. Is he then looking to put him back in the squad? The one other point that I forgot, well, didn't forget, but just didn't mention, was if we have to change the system, are we going to look at a system change against Ipswich?
Very difficult to change the system with 9 games to go.
Well,
very difficult, especially that's my coach's head on.
Yeah, but this is it, though, isn't it? You know, Ed alluded to obviously the running, and you know, you said we've got enough to get promotion, etc. Still, and Ed alluded to the fact that we've changed all these players and stuff to try and get a wake call. We already got, like I say, 9-10 games left. Now we've got 8. Now Warren's talking about a system change. What I can't, what we obviously we changed the system with our team selection, and it involved, I think, taking one. Well, it was one player difference. It would have been, I think, Smith in. Sorry, it would have been Rooney in for. Can't remember who it would have been in for now, but we played a 3-5-2, and it wasn't dissimilar to that team that was put out on Saturday. But I think at the minute he's rocking at the minute.
I think if you're going to play a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3, you have to have Smith and Knight when they're available in the middle.
Yeah,
they're the only tenacious 2 players you have in the team. And Knight, we spoke about Knight, about what's his position. Yeah. You know, what does he actually bring to the team? He does bring energy. He does bring bite, and whatever people say about him, and I've been a critique of him this season in some elements, I still would have him in my midfield with Smith and with Bird. And if you're playing a 4 with Hurrihan, if you're playing a 4-3-3, I would personally take Hurrihan out of the team and put Bird, Smith, and Knight. The second thing I picked up from his interview was he was blaming missed opportunities. And we spoke about this at the start of the show. If you know that we ain't scoring, don't lose.
Yeah. Well, you've said it so many times.
I've said this time and time again. Game managers, just don't lose.
It is, and obviously he said he changed the system, to bring on more attacking players, and it did leave us to be more open. And I suppose if you are 1-0 down, it is better doing it early on rather than waiting until the last 10 minutes where you're still scrapping. But the thing is, though, he clearly knew something. He clearly could not see us scoring in the system that he had us out. After they scored, he could clearly see that we were not going to get anything because we stopped creating chances. Well, we didn't really create much anyway, but even more so once they'd scored. So I think he had to do something. I think if we'd not done anything, we would have all been shouting at him, "Come on, you change it, get some subs on, do this, do that."
So
But,
they scored 7 minutes into the second half. Was the first goal.
Mhm.
Now I thought there was an element of that on its way within 2 minutes of the second half. I thought, oh, hang on a minute, they've changed. They've clearly changed shape, and all of a sudden we're on our back foot. And I thought it was quite evident quite quickly. And when I come to game management and about do not lose a game, to me, is there an argument that you wait until you see what's coming out? So, for instance, when I'm going to, I know you don't like me bringing up basketball, but I'm going to bring it up. You match up. You match up. What they say in basketball is you match up.
Yeah.
And you look for a mismatch of height or speed to ultimately get points.
Mhm.
And it's a coach's job to quickly work out where the mismatches are. So you match up and change that. So you neutralize that potential against you. I just thought that looking at the bench, we had Rooney and Davis on the bench. And all right, then we haven't give Davis the best of praises this last couple of games. But was it a time to go, this is going the same way? We've given it our best shot at 45 minutes as dominant possession wise, fair enough. Well, let's be honest, we were not ripping them apart. We just weren't.
No.
We didn't rip them apart. They weren't great, Peterborough, but we did not do anything to frighten them. When they started to turn us quite quickly in the second half and go down the sides of the pitch, because it's not the widest pitch at Peterborough. It's quite a narrow playing surface. To me, I would have turned around and gone, guys, we're under the cosh here within 3 or 4 minutes. Do we go to a back five? Do I quickly take someone off out of the midfield and thus shut shop and nullify? Or do I put an extra midfield? I just thought that there was an opportunity to react to what Peterborough did.
Yeah, I mean, my argument would be I felt that first 5-6 minutes of that second half was a bit end to end. It felt like a basketball game of all sorts.
Oh, well, there you go.
But it did feel a bit end to end. So I think that's why he was a bit reluctant to change it then. And I guess maybe another factor was that he wants to stay in the playoffs, so he wants to win. He's said he's not a manager that wants to go and draw.
But if you draw, you keep them 4 points away.
I get that, but when you've got the likes of Ipswich coming up, who we know what their form's like at the minute, he clearly is maybe, I guess, overthinking things a little bit. I sort of agree what you're saying about game management shouldn't have shot, but at the end of the day, he wants to win every game. But
we all do.
We all do, and I think that's the way he is. That's the way he plays. He as I just said, he openly admitted he doesn't go out to draw games. And I just think for that first 5, 6, 7 minutes of that second half, it was end to end, but with neither team creating anything. And then obviously Harvey White forces a great save from the keeper. Because Peterborough didn't really create anything when they were in possession the first couple of minutes, but they did, like you say, they did turn us. They did look to get in behind. All of a sudden, we lose the ball high up the pitch, and we ain't got the pace to get back. They score from it. Probably shouldn't have done, but they did. Ultimately, then he's got to go, well, what do I do here? I can't really now try and bring on a defender or whatever. I've got to go and bring on more attackers to try and get another goal, because at the minute it doesn't.
But he sacrificed midfielders, Simon, for that.
Yeah, he did.
So
he did. He sacrificed midfielders because he wanted to get more attackers on, and it didn't.
Well, who's gonna contribute to the attackers to get their opportunities?
Well, this is
when you take Horihan off the pitch and when you take Bird off the pitch.
I didn't take Bird off.
He came off at the 79 minutes for Sibley.
Yeah, well, that's 10 minutes left. That's where he's really pushing.
Yeah, but let's just say 15 include next time. What I'm saying is, when you take those players off with 15 minutes to go, still you've still always got a chance, But I'm all for going at all out attack. But if you can't get the ball to them for whatever reason, what surely then you turn around and go, Yeah, it was the game was gone. The game was gone at 2-0.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
It's probably gone at 1-0. To be fair, I thought I saw the body language go down again,
Mm.
and that we mentioned it already, and we're waffling on about it. But I just, to me, I would have gone, let's shut shop. Let's come. If we would have come out of Peterborough 0-0, kept them 4 points up drift. The results went sort of with us behind us. I think there was 2 other draws. Wickham drew, Portsmouth drew. Would have kept them adrift. And I've said this on Twitter. We're in a mini league battle now. 2 positions out of 4. Derby, Bolton, Wickham, and Peterborough are basically battling between themselves for the last 2 positions. Now, I would have looked at it differently to you, whereas you said that we're looking at trying to win against Peterborough because we've got Ipswich coming into town. I looked at it as not losing against Peterborough and have the confidence. We had clean sheet after clean sheet after clean sheet when we went through our period of unbeaten run.
Yeah.
We had just as many draws as we had wins, but what we weren't doing is conceding goals. Surely confidence comes to your goalkeeper when he's got a clean sheet. Surely your confidence comes to your team when if you're not scoring, don't lose. I'd have took a 0-0 all day long and gone into the Ipswich game because Peterborough have got Oxford at home.
Yeah.
Next game. And let's be honest. All right, then you could say it's Oxford are fighting for their lives. But if Peterborough do what Peterborough normally do at home, they're gonna smash them to bits. Let's hope for a Cheltenham freak result, but I don't think on paper it's going to happen. I just think you just have to look at the percentage of let's just come out of Peterborough with 1 point and then just move on.
Yeah, I know. I mean, obviously he made the sub. The first sub was Barkhausen for Mendes Lang. And that was what 10 minutes or so after they scored. And that was because Mendes Lang was absolutely shot to bits.
And we did say last pod, do you give him a rest anyway?
Obviously, then he takes off Horahan for Collins, so he clearly then accepted the likes of Bird to step up and start trying to find balls, which Bird has done in the past. There's a few he can find that pass. That was obviously thinking. Well, all I need to do is get Bird to shift it out wide and get balls into the box. I've now got two big men on the 2 strikers on essentially in McGoldrick and Collins just to get the head in the box. And I think he just took Bird off for Sibley because I think Bird may have been flagging and he just needed Sibley to be a bit of a threat and start running at players, and which he did ultimately. And then obviously see the second goal, game's dead, game's done. I just think when you go 1-0 behind so early on in the second half, that's only, you said it was 7 minutes in. There's still plenty of time to try and come back and win that game,
or
at least
draw
it. But I think he did try to do that. He tried to stick with what he was doing.
And there is the argument, Simon, that the bench isn't deep enough, and I get that argument because you've got much of a muchness on there, and we've said this that we've all Derby fans are saying that we haven't got a plan B, C, D, or E, etc., and we're all on the same page. I just think, and I want to sort of finish my point of view on the game with we are now in this mini battle with the 4 teams, and whilst we've been talking on the pod, I've just been looking at Peterborough's fixtures over the next, the final running, and I just want to touch on this today and tonight's show because I think it's really important that we look at other teams' run-ins before we look at ours. Yes, we control our own destiny to a point, but you look at Peterborough, they've got Oxford next game. We've both said that you're probably looking at a home win there, and we've got Ipswich, so we're probably looking that we could be in 7th. By the end of the week. Then they go away on Easter Friday, Good Friday to Shrewsbury, which are still sniffing just about. They're hanging on by dear life, and they've had a good season, Shrewsbury, and I don't think they're going to go on holiday just yet.
No.
They then have another home game to Peterborough. Peterborough have Exeter at home, and you would think that that's another 3 points to Peterborough. So straight away, the next 3 games, you'd anticipate getting them at least 6 points. Then their season gets a little bit more interesting where they go to a local derby against Cambridge away. Cambridge are fighting for their lives, so they've really capitulated this year. Then they go away to Accrington, another team who are fighting, and they look absolutely awful. Accrington, I think they got another spanking yesterday. So you can see Peterborough winning both them games as well. Let's be completely honest.
Yeah.
Then they have Ipswich at home.
Mm-hmm.
And if Peterborough are on the confidence boost of winning 4 out of the next 5, which have just gone through, they're going to want to take on anyone at home, let's be honest. Then they've got another home game, which is staggering, to Bristol Rovers, who are on the beach.
Yeah, by far.
They're done. And then they've got Barnsley, last game of the season, away. And
that could be a crucial game because Barnsley will be...
Barnsley, Peterborough, Derby, Sheff Wednesday. One battling for a promotion spot, one battling for a playoff spot. You couldn't write it. You really, really couldn't write it, could you? So that's Peterborough. Have you got? I think. Can you bring up Derby's fixtures? I can't remember what our running is.
Yeah, so Derby have got Ipswich at home, followed by Forest Green away on Easter Friday or Good Friday. Easter Monday, we've got MK Dons at home.
So sorry, go through that again. Sorry, Simon.
Ipswich, obviously, this weekend.
So we'd be happy with a point there, realistically. I know we need a win, but okay.
Forest Green away.
Well, they've
just beaten Sheffield Wednesday,
and Duncan Ferguson seems to be getting the best out of a very, that'd be an interesting game.
MK Dons at home,
fighting for their lives, but we should put that as a home banker.
Bristol Rovers away.
Well, we would hope that they're on the beach, as we said.
Exeter away.
On the beach, as we said, hopefully.
Burton at home.
Oh, dear. Yeah.
Portsmouth
have to win it.
Yeah, Portsmouth at home. They're out of their play. They're out of the playoffs.
Yeah, they're 6 points behind, but again, they could get a couple of results. You just don't know. But I think they're out of the equation.
And then obviously Sheffield Wednesday away.
Oh, horrible.
So we got horrible. Someone said the other day that you take out Ipswich and you take out Sheffield Wednesday, we've got a pretty easy run in, so playoffs should be no problem. And I says, if that was the case, then Fleetwood would have been no problem at all. And we know exactly what happened there.
Yeah.
Shoulda, woulda, coulda is all well and good. But when it comes down to the nitty gritty, when it comes down to actually doing it, there's a big, big difference.
Yeah. Now, Wycombe have got MK Dons at home next game. You'd back that as a Wycombe win. Now, they also play Ipswich, but they play them away on Good Friday.
I remember now why I said I think Barnsley will get above Ipswich and make top 2. And this is why Ipswich have got some tough games coming up.
What I find amazing, they also have got Forest Green, but they've got Forest Green at home.
Yeah.
So straight away, 2 of their next 3 games are at home, with obviously Ipswich away. They then go to Cambridge, again another team that seem to be still involved with our rivals. Then they're at home to Lincoln and Cheltenham. Oh, you couldn't in theory you couldn't ask for 2 better fixtures. Your last 2 home games is one team on the beach, Lincoln, and probably Cheltenham will be there or thereabouts. And then they got Portsmouth at the last game. And we've just mentioned Portsmouth they're out of it, but are they out of it?
I think they will be. I think they are. I don't. Maybe not, but
so then the final one is Bolton.
I'll tell you what, Bolton at the minute. They are literally hit and miss, aren't they?
Yeah, and they are falling apart. People were saying what a great January window they had, but they're falling apart. So
they've not won in the last 4. They've drawn 2, lost 2.
Well, their next game is a televised match. It's Plymouth at home. Why? And then they have to go to Exeter away. They'll be on the beach. Then they play Cambridge. I told you they seem to be involved with everybody at home. So they've got 2 out of the next 3 games at home. Then they go to Oxford, who are fighting for their lives. That could be an interesting game. And then they go to Burton. So they've got 2 away games. Now, I think them 2 away games could define their season, because they actually then have a very easy run in at home to an extent, because they then have 3 games at home, which couldn't come at a better time, which is Shrewsbury, Accrington, and Fleetwood. Although Fleetwood have shown us they can play football. And then Bolton go away to Bristol Rovers, who will be, like I said, in Malaga somewhere on the Latin Benidorm. So I actually look at the run-ins, and it's just fascinating, because I think Peterborough, out of all the 4, have got the best run-in. And I think I would probably say Bolton have got the second best run-in.
Yeah. No, I agree. I think, at the end of the day, though, all you can do is play what's in front of you.
Oh, yeah, I knew you were going to say that. But I love looking. I always do like looking,
You do.
as you know, at other fixtures, because I do think that there is always twists and turns. And I know you can only concentrate on your own. But what I'm saying is you've got to look at where you can get a point. As much as we always want 3 points every game, Simon, you've got to game manage and look at where do we definitely do not lose. And to me, if you come out the Ipswich game, and this will be my final bit of the rant this evening, if you can come out the Ipswich game, which we'll preview this week, and we've got possibly other show lined up this week with another interesting subject.
Well, I might join them 2 shows together.
Yeah, that'll be good. That'll be good. I think that you've got to now concentrate on not losing. Ipswich, full stop. We know that Peterborough are probably going to end up getting a win away, but let's not lose. I think if we can come out of the Ipswich game with a positive point, I think that will stand us in good stead for 5 potentially better games or better opportunities to get wins.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree. And we've somehow managed to pull out and go from an absolute negative rant from me at the start, just a little bit of positivity from you at the end of the show. So yeah, we'll call it a day there, guys. As Christian said, we will be back hopefully Tuesday.
Tuesday, yeah,
with another guest on for
working on it, and it looks good so far.
Yeah, we're working on it. Fingers crossed. If not, we'll be back Thursday with the preview. So yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for your feedback on the shows. It's always nice to hear feedback when you comment on either Chris's Twitter or my Facebook or Instagram or whatever, or TikTok. We do really appreciate that. It shows that we are doing a job and you are enjoying listening. So we'll carry on doing it. But yeah, anyway, guys, that's the show. As I said, maybe see you Tuesday, maybe Thursday. Remember to like, share, and subscribe. And as always, come on, Derby.